Ssentongo Ibrahim. I'm a teacher by profession. I'm a tutor. I'm a trainer. I work with different schools. I work with the ministry and the current CBC new curriculum for the lower secondary school as a trainer in different schools. And I'm also part of this because last year we had 2 seminars, which were no good, and they went on well. And I was so happy when he gave me a call and told me that there was one that is being organized and he wanted me to attend. I said, okay, I'll try and see my schedule and then I'll get to you. Luckily enough, I had time, and I'm sorry I've come late because the appointment was supposed to be from 3 up to around 5, but unfortunately, because of the rain and some unavoidable circumstances, I came a little bit late, but nevertheless, better late than never, like they say. Now, the numerical skills is actually the section, the 3rd section. It's section 3 of the pre-entry exam. And like some of you have seen some of the question papers there. The time allocated for you to be able to complete that section of the paper as a whole, they actually help you out and indicate the time that you should spend on that particular section. And specifically, I'll be speaking on behalf of, or talking on the numerical skills alone. There also be an aptitude, but basically, let me talk about the numerical skills today. So with the numerical skills, it's 35 minutes for the whole section. There are 10 questions. Each question earns you 2 marks. That's 20 marks altogether. So each objective you're going to attempt there earns you 2 marks. And that means that if there are 10 questions and you're supposed to spend a maximum of 35 minutes in that particular section, it means that each number must be done in 3.5 minutes. That's what it means. That is why spending a lot of time on a certain particular number that you know, you yourself, you know, but you want to keep on pushing is just a waste of time. So you have to be fast, you have to be, of course, accurate in whatever you do. Because the numerical skills, like it is numerical skills, they are numerical skills. Only that you're going to notice that some of the questions under the numerical skills cut across the aptitude as well. And basically the questions you're going to see where cut across are those questions that are set as sequential questions. They give you a letter pattern or a number pattern or a word. It can be a word, it can be a number pattern, it can be letters with numbers combined, and they ask you to find either the next number in the sequence or the next pattern in the sequence or the next whatever they want them to, or they want you to ask, to answer on that particular question. So you're going to notice that some of the questions will cut across. But basically for the numerical skills, like I've told you, please, it is a 3rd section, 10 objectives. That means you're supposed to answer the 10 objectives in 35 minutes. If you're to take a lot of time, please never go beyond the maximum. If you've wasted some time somewhere, don't go beyond 40 minutes. And that is a lot. You get it? So today, as the overview, 1, numerical skills, like it is numericals. It's numerical, there are numbers you're going to deal with. There are categories of questions that are set under the numerical skills. 1, there are 2 categories. There are questions that are going to be set, and those questions are not conceptual. They do not require any concept but logic to answer them. And then secondly, there are questions, and that one is without a doubt, they will always be there. Questions that will be set and require a certain bit of mathematical knowledge, either a formula or an idea on something before you attempt them. But both of them will be there. Now, with the conceptual questions. Now with the conceptual questions, the most common questions, those of you that have looked at these past papers, let's say from last year up to around 2015, 12, 13, those of you are better to, do some little bit of research. You're going to notice that there are some concepts that will always appear. I'm not saying that they must appear, no. But if you look at the trend for the past 6, 7 years, you will notice that there are some concepts that will always appear at a certain point. And then there are, of course, there are some concepts that will be a little bit hard, without a doubt. That is true. Like those of you who have gone through the 2017 paper. That paper, the numerical skills, this type, I don't know why, but That's how it was, and they categorized it, you know. But anyway, nevertheless, you have to do whatever you can. And so one, with the conceptual questions. Let's begin with the non-conceptual questions. Now, those non-conceptual questions require you to have a certain bit of knowledge. You may not need a particular concept to answer a question. It may be a logical question. Let me give you an example. They talk about maybe 3 judges, Ssentongo, maybe Ibrahim, and maybe Asina somewhere. And they're working maybe at a law firm. And then they tell you Asina is supposed to work on a Monday, Ibrahim on a Tuesday, and maybe they are supposed to work on a Wednesday. But they switch. Ibrahim switches with so and so. Now, that one may not require a certain concept. But you have to just follow that logical question, the way it flows, and I would request that for you to be able to do these numbers, of course, you have to have a little bit of speed. 35 minutes may seem to be a lot of time, but yet it's not a lot of time when you look at it in terms of numerical skills. So I would request that we're going to look at some, there are very many questions that were set in that booklet you have. We can't do all of them. So we're basically going to be choosing the ones we can go through for now, and then later we will see if time allows. I will be giving you some answers on some of those ones and see if you can, when you go back, you can get them or anything of the sort. Or in any case, if I don't do that today, I can organize something, maybe the solution, some of the questions. And then I will send them to him so that as a revisor, he can go through them as prepare for the exams. Now, those are the non-conceptual questions. Those ones require to have a little bit of logic. You need to actually think about a question the way it's given to you. And then with the conceptual questions, the most common ones, one, you're going to have questions that are going to be talking about kinematics. Now, that's a mathematical term. But the kinematics, I basically mean questions to do with distance and time. They talk about maybe so-and-so walked a distance of, let's say, 20 kilometers, they give you a certain time, maybe in 2 hours, or maybe they even give you a speed and ask you to calculate, maybe distance, or maybe time. Now that will require a certain concept of distance, time, and that's a kinematics question. Maybe time. And then there are questions that will be, we call them mensurational questions. Questions that need you to have the knowledge of area, that is surface area, volume, most commonly area and volume. They may not go far as you know, bringing something much bigger than that, but basically knowing area and volume, and maybe perimeter, which you can also call the circumference. Because they bring a question and they say, someone is supposed to be fencing a square farm, maybe a rectangular farm, and they're supposed to be planting poles along the length and along the width. And then they ask you how many poles maybe, for example, do they need, or maybe the cost of each pole, or maybe the total cost of, when you're given the unit cost of one pole, depending. Now that basically means that if they are talking about a person trying to fence a certain farm, whatever should come to your head is that if you're fencing this farm, you're only looking at the boundaries of that farm. We don't fence inside here, no. If it's a fence, whether you're having poles, whether it's wire mesh, anything, whatever, if it's fencing, we talk about the boundaries of that particular farm. And basically, what relates the length from here, you move to this point and then back to that point, is the perimeter of that shape. Are you there? Then, they can ask you about, let's say, maybe when someone wants to tile, there may be rectangular room or square room. And you know, when they're laying down these tiles are going to cover the whole of this surface, the whole of the surface of the room. And that logically does not mean that you're now going to consider the length of that. No, that means you're going to consider the knowledge of surface area. So depending on which kind of question, it may not necessarily talk about found area, no. But they will tell you, someone wants to maybe tile her bedroom house. They give you the dimensions of the bedrooms, each bedroom, and they give you the cost of maybe a box of tiles or each tile, and then they ask you to find the total cost of tiling the whole 2 rooms. Logically, when you're tiling, you're going to place those tiles on the floor of the room. Therefore, you cover a certain surface area. And therefore, that means you're supposed to think about area in that case. So concepts like that. And then there are concepts that, whereby you need to know, for example, a concept like I was talking to him briefly there, a concept of permutations. Now that one, if you've never heard of permutations, it may be a problem. But you're lucky enough that sometimes when you bring a concept like that, they will have to define for you the meaning of what a factorial is. I can give you an example. Maybe they've given you a question that requires you to find something that has this. Now this is a factorial. It means you have a 5 factorial, but lucky enough they can define for you that. And then you know what you're supposed to do in order to work out whatever options are given to you in order to find out the correct one. So you need to know the concepts, and then maybe also something I'm forgetting, and usually which may seem to be easy and yet hard, is the concept of numbers. Numbers. The sum of the first 10 integers is this. What are integers? Which ones are the integers? The sum of the square numbers is this. And those numbers as well are going to be very useful when you come to number and letter patterns. Those sequences given to you. Like actually we shall begin with those ones, the sequences first. Those sequences that are given to you. You may be given numbers that are weird when you look at them. But you can relate them. Maybe the number in the first position here, plus the number in the first position in the second item, plus the number in the third, you will get a certain sequence. Maybe we are related in terms of their prime numbers, maybe they are square numbers, maybe they are even numbers, maybe they are odd numbers, or maybe they are rectangular or even triangular numbers. So you need to know at least those numbers. You may not know how to define them because they are bad here, but at least you need to know how to identify them, or the examples of the first 10, or maybe first 5, or how to obtain them. It's really, really important, really important. You need to know that. More so when it gets to those number miracles unanswered. 1, go through whatever you know you can do. Attempt whatever you're sure and whatever you're trying to understand and whatever you think is right. Attempt it. When the time gets you, maybe 3 or 5 are not answered, hey guys, play around your luck. You don't know. Maybe yes. Maybe you have number 1 confusing you. Just look at that bullet and then maybe it's A, period. Maybe number 2, you choose 1, but please never leave them. Some of you may be very lucky, and you just play around the whole section choosing. You will never get 8 correct. I mean, it's possible. But I would advise, please always first avoid doing the numbers that you know. Okay, the number that you feel you can try. Get to find out the option and then answer it. And then, remember as I'm saying, I didn't put them there. And then, there is a possibility of one answer not existing. And the option you have is none of those. So it's not a must that all the questions there will have an answer. However, usually there are not many. Usually not many. You may decide to say these answers look weird. So let me put none of these, none of these. You will get nothing. Or luckily enough you collide with one. So basically I would advise, please, try as much as possible to go through the number of questions that you're sure you can try. And then after that, finally you cross over to whatever you want, to various section. When they say you're left with about 5 minutes, you know you've not done 5 objectives. And you're sure you don't know them. Please don't leave them unanswered. It is a humble request. Do not. Rather, you try attempting them. You never know. But you have to have one colliding with you in your hand. Just like that, you'll have the 2 marks there. So, basically, I think that's what I wanted to first of all talk about as maybe during our discussion, if I get to recall some of the important things I need you to know about is, I'll keep highlighting. I'll keep highlighting. So, let's look at some. I said we're going to begin with the sequential questions and then don't sequence it and do that. So for every number that you shall be doing, please make sure you indicate that one is done. However, there are some numbers I've seen that have been repetitive in this booklet, but you can see, we shall get to know which ones are those, and then some of them will need to be corrected, we shall see, and then we shall move on. So let's look at the sequence. We can go to this page. I think it's page, let's go to page 35. Page 35. Let's go to page 35 with that one and see. Now maybe the I'll give you maybe those types of numbers, just a little of them. We won't go as far as triangular, rectangular, but at least the basic ones, prime. So number 44 says, what is the next number pattern? Now we're going to look at the first one given to us is 5, 8, 9, 6, 5, that's it. 4, 2, 3, 7. And then the second one is 8, 9, 6, 5, 4, 2, 3, 7. And then the next one is 9, 6, 5, 4, 2, 3, 7. That's it. I've skipped it. This is the first one is 5, the second one is 8, the third one is also having an 8. Okay, so the third one is 8, 9, 6, 5, 4, 2, 3. That's all. And then the next one is 9, 6, 5, 4, 2, 3. And then they want you to get the next. Now, they ask me to get the next pattern in that sequence. When we look at it, now this one requires no concept at all. But you're going to notice that the numbers that appear here are also appearing here, but they are less by a certain factor. And they are the same appearing here in the same order, but less by a certain factor. And then there are those appearing here as well as the first one here, but less by a certain factor. So you need to logically identify what has been done to this one in order to get that one. Because we can compare and see, there is a 7, there is a 7, there is a 3, there is a 3, there is a 2, a 2, a 4, a 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 9, 9, 8, 8. This one has a 5, but this one has no 5. So what have they done? They've cancelled out the 5. So meaning that to get this particular one, the first digit was cancelled. That is why you see that the whole of the remaining digits are just a replica here. So it means to get the second pattern here, it was the first one that was cancelled. Now ask yourself, what is the relationship between now this and this? Because I've now used this to get that. I've used these two to get whatever was done to that. Now ask yourself, how about this one? When you look closely, the 8 is there, 9, 9 is there, 6, 6 is there, 5, 5 is there, 4, 4 is there, 2, 2 is there, 3, 3 is there. However, this one has a 7, and this one has no 7. So what have they done? They've cancelled the last digit. And from those two, you can now get the pattern. Whatever they've done. The truth behind it is that here they are cancelled in the first to get the second. They are cancelled in the last to get the third. Logically, they will cancel the first to get the fourth. And here they will cancel the last to get the next. And this means they're going to have 9, 6, 5, 4, 2. Which option is that? And therefore C becomes the answer.